Baltimore's heart is heavy today. A sudden and heartbreaking piece of news has shaken the city and its fans. Arthur Jones, Super Bowl champion with the Ravens, has passed away unexpectedly at just 39 years old. How could someone so young and full of energy leave us all so suddenly? Arthur wasn't just a player on the field. He had a smile that lit up a room, an energy that lifted everyone around him, and moments no one will ever forget, especially in Super Bowl 47. But what truly made him a legend in Baltimore goes far beyond the stats. In this video, you're going to see everything about his career, his unforgettable plays, and the story of a family of champions that shaped his life. Baltimore woke up feeling different, carrying a pain that goes beyond football. The news of Arthur Jones passing, the former defensive lineman and Super Bowl champ, caught everyone off guard. At 39, he left too soon, shaking not just the Ravens organization, but a whole city that had come to admire his strength, his presence, and his heart on the field. This kind of loss isn't just a stat. It's not just another former player gone. We're talking about someone who made his mark, who was part of one of the biggest chapters in Ravens history. And when something like this happens, every memory takes on even more weight. The Super Bowl win, the locker room moments, that unforgettable smile, all of it now becomes part of a lasting legacy. For the team, the news comes at a sensitive time. The season is just getting started, and expectations are high. But before facing the Texans, the focus naturally shifts off the field, to the grief of losing someone who was part of this family. And in Baltimore, when you talk about the Ravens family, it's more than just words. It's real, and it touches players, coaches, and fans alike. It's this sense of unity, this shared weight of loss, that will be felt on game day. The stadium will feel it. The game will carry this different energy, almost like a silent tribute to Arthur Jones. And the way he will be remembered starts with the words of those who knew him best. When the news broke, one of the first voices to speak was General Manager Eric DeCosta. He didn't speak as just an executive or someone remembering a player from the past. His words came from the heart, from someone who truly felt the loss. He said Arthur had a contagious energy, a huge smile that could light up any room, and a unique way of treating people with respect and enthusiasm. That kind of tribute shows how much Jones went beyond what he did on the field. Often, when we think of players, we focus on numbers, stats, or big plays. But what DeCosta highlighted was different. He spoke about the person, the teammate, the man who valued his family, his friends, and his fellow players. That human side is what leaves the deepest mark when someone is gone. The way Arthur was described reminds us that in football, not everything is about strength, technique, or discipline. Having someone in the locker room who radiates positivity, who lifts others up under pressure, is rare and invaluable. And that's exactly what DeCosta emphasized. Arthur wasn't just a player. He was one of those guys who could change the vibe around him. The GM's words don't just fade away. They echo through the current roster, even among players who may have never played alongside him, helping them understand the weight of his legacy. It's a memory that connects generations within the franchise, showing that being a Raven goes beyond the field. And that connection becomes even stronger when we remember how it all started for Arthur Jones. Arthur's NFL story began in 2010, when the Ravens decided to take a chance on him in the 5th round of the draft. Picked 157th overall out of Syracuse, he didn't come in with superstar status or sky-high expectations. But few could have imagined that Baltimore would become his home, the place where he'd lay the foundation of his career and live out his greatest moments as a professional. 5th-round picks usually have to fight even harder to prove themselves. Jones did exactly that. He didn't arrive labeled as a savior of the defense, but he worked quietly day after day, earning his spot. That journey is what makes his time with the Ravens so special. He represents the kind of player who never gives up, who battles for every opportunity, and shows on the field that he deserves respect. Those first years were all about learning and adapting. He had to understand the pace of the league, gain confidence, and prove he could compete against some of the best players in the world. Baltimore, known for having one of the toughest offenses in the NFL, was the perfect environment to shape his mindset and put him alongside veterans who carried the franchise's culture. That humble start became the foundation for what came next. Arthur Jones, who began as a mid-round pick without much spotlight, steadily climbed the ladder until he became an essential part of a championship team. And that recognition became even clearer when he shined during a season that would be forever remembered in Ravens history. Arthur Jones' defining moment came in 2012, a magical year for the Ravens. He finally found a spot in the defensive rotation and showed just how much he could impact big games. That season, he recorded 4.5 sacks in the regular season, the best of his career up to that point, proving he wasn't just there to fill a roster spot. Jones became a cornerstone of the defensive line that helped carry Baltimore all the way to Super Bowl 47. That year's campaign was defined by the collective strength of the defense, and Jones was one of the gears keeping that machine running. His physical presence, discipline in holding the gaps, and ability to pressure the quarterback in critical moments showed he was ready for the spotlight. He wasn't the most talked about name on the defense, but he was one of those players who make a difference in the details, on every single snap. And the Super Bowl became the ultimate stage where his evolution shined even brighter. Jones was there when Baltimore needed him most, showing he could impact the most important game of the year. The confidence he built over the regular season carried into the playoffs, and his performance solidified his role as a key piece of the team. The 2012 season didn't just crown the Ravens' journey. It also etched Arthur Jones into the memory of the fans. He wasn't just another player on that championship team. He was an essential part of a defense that made history. And among all the plays in that final against the 49ers, one in particular would forever define his career. The play that truly symbolizes Arthur Jones' impact in Super Bowl 47 was a sack on Colin Kaepernick. On that play, he broke through protection and brought down the 49ers quarterback at a critical moment. And right after, something everyone remembers even today happened. The infamous blackout at the Superdome, which halted the game for over half an hour. The remarkable detail? The last big play before the lights went out was Jones' sack, permanently etching his name into that game's history. Beyond that sack, Jones also recovered a crucial fumble during the Super Bowl. These were the kind of plays that can completely swing a game, especially on a stage like that. It wasn't just about being in the right place at the right time. It was about being prepared, aware, and having the mindset that every single detail can decide a championship. That competitive instinct made him a true difference maker on defense. These moments show just how fully Jones lived that Super Bowl. He wasn't in the background, just watching stars like Ray Lewis, Terrell Suggs, or Ed Reed shine. On the contrary, he seized the opportunity and left his personal mark on one of the franchise's greatest games. That's the kind of performance that turns players into champions remembered for decades. Super Bowl 47 became the pinnacle of his career, but it was also the point where Jones cemented his reputation as a player who delivers in the biggest moments. And that consistency didn't stop there. The following season, even without the glow of a championship, he proved he still had plenty to offer on the field.
All right, we're already past the halfway point of this video. But before we continue, I noticed you haven't left a like yet. It's really important because it helps YouTube keep showing you my content so I can keep bringing you the best news about the Baltimore Ravens. So go ahead and hit that like button. It's free and it really helps. Thanks. Now let's get back to it.
After the championship, Arthur Jones returned in 2013 even more confident. It was his last season in Baltimore, but also one of the most consistent of his career. Even without the weight of Super Bowl run, he kept his intensity, finishing among the team leaders in several key defensive stats. He recorded 4 sacks, nearly matching the total from the previous year, along with 8 tackles for loss and 7 quarterback hits. These numbers show a player in full evolution, someone who wasn't just a one-game hero or a flash in the pan. Jones had become a constant presence on the defensive front, capable of pressuring quarterbacks while standing strong against a run. It was proof that he had reached a level of reliability every coach would love to have on the field. Despite his impact, 2013 marked the end of his chapter with the Ravens. The franchise was going through a period of change after the title, and Jones was ready to move on to another team. But the way he closed out his time in Baltimore made it clear he was more than just a role player. His departure was felt not only for the talent he carried, but also for the leadership and spirit he brought into the locker room. With his era in Baltimore over, Arthur Jones was ready for a new challenge, and that challenge came with a lucrative contract, showing just how much the league valued everything he had built in Baltimore. In 2014, he took a major step in his career by signing a 5-year, $30 million deal with the Indianapolis Colts. But this move wasn't just about money. It reunited him with Chuck Pagano, his former defensive coordinator in Baltimore, who was now the Colts head coach. That connection was key to Indianapolis betting so heavily on his talent and experience. The move also represented a new chapter. After 4 years in Baltimore and a Super Bowl title, Jones now had the chance to prove he could be a defensive cornerstone for another team in a new system. Indianapolis saw in him not just a player who could strengthen their defensive line, but someone carrying Baltimore's winning mindset, a mentality that could inspire the entire roster. Even though injuries impacted part of his time in Indianapolis, Jones still left his mark. He brought intensity, physicality, and experience to the defense, traits recognized by teammates and coaches alike. He was a kind of player who, even outside the spotlight, helped provide consistency to the group, both on the field and in the locker room. This phase in Indianapolis was different from his time in Baltimore, but it was part of the journey that shaped his career. Jones was no longer just a rising player. He had become a valued veteran, respected, and able to pass along the lessons he learned from a championship-winning franchise. And before retiring from the NFL, he had one more stop. After 3 seasons in Indianapolis, Arthur Jones had one final opportunity to show his strength in the league. In 2017, he suited up for the Washington Redskins for what would be his last NFL season. It wasn't a long stint, but it represented the closing of a cycle that began back in 2010, where he arrived as a 5th-round pick. His time in Washington didn't carry the same shine as his years in Baltimore or the weight of his Colts contract. Still, it proved that even at the end of his career, Jones was seen as someone who could contribute on the field and bring experience to a roster. His presence commanded respect because he carried the resume of someone who had already won at the highest level. Retiring is never easy, especially for a player whose identity was built on hard work and discipline. But Arthur left the NFL with a solid legacy, a Super Bowl champion, a defender who always gave his all, and someone who exceeded expectations from the spot where he was drafted. His journey was marked by perseverance and the ability to seize every opportunity that came his way. And when Arthur Jones' story on the field came to an end, it became even clearer what he represented off the field. Beyond his achievements as an athlete, he was part of a unique family made up of individuals who also reached the top of their sports. Arthur Jones wasn't just a talented football player. He was part of a family that lived and breathed elite-level sports. His older brother, John Bones Jones, is a UFC legend, a former heavyweight champion known worldwide for his dominance in the octagon. That connection shows a competitive spirit ran deep in the family. But it doesn't stop there. His younger brother, Chandler Jones, also excelled in the NFL. An elite defensive end, 4-time Pro Bowler, and Super Bowl champion with the New England Patriots, Chandler racked up 112 sacks in 11 seasons, becoming one of the most feared pass rushers of the past decade. Arthur, John, and Chandler represent a rare trio of top-level athletes, each mastering their sport with talent and dedication. Being surrounded by such exceptional siblings didn't overshadow Arthur's journey. On the contrary, it inspired and motivated him to carve his own path. He built his career with hard work, perseverance, and intelligence, proving he could be recognized not just by his last name, but by his own effort and achievements. This family of champions leaves a legacy far beyond statistics. It's about discipline and love for the game and the ability to overcome challenges. And now, with Arthur's sudden passing, the memory of his journey intertwines with the memories of his victories, his Super Bowl, and the human impact he had on and off the field. Arthur Jones' story reminds us that behind every stat and every title, there's a human being who inspires, motivates, and leaves a mark that goes far beyond the field. He built a career on perseverance, reached the pinnacle with a Super Bowl, and was part of a family of champions who turned sports into a legacy of excellence. Losing someone this young makes us appreciate every moment and every effort players like Arthur put into the game and life off the field. He won't be forgotten for his game-changing plays, his relentless spirit, and the impact he had on everyone around him. And now, all that's left is to hold on to the memory of everything he represented. A champion, a brother, a friend, and a true Raven. May Arthur Jones' story continue to inspire generations, both on and off the field.
And if you, just like me, are passionate about the world of football and want to learn more about the Ravens' legacy, don't leave this video without sharing it with that friend who is also a Baltimore Ravens fan and will love this content. See those video suggestions on your screen? The first one was handpicked just for you, and the other is a recommendation from YouTube itself.